Oh, it's not actually going to start until 2:10. Oh, there we go. That's our hold music. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for one last time in 2023, I present to you Gravel Trap F1 Live. Sorry, the second I switched screens, Christina was no longer
left.
there.
I know, I was like, bye, Christina!
I present... Oh, no.
Nothing!
She wanted a grand reveal, a grand entrance.
Oh,
Ta-da!
absolutely.
Girl, that's not Red Bull in there. What is it?
It's water!
Oh.
It's water from last night, so it doesn't taste as fresh as I would like it to.
I get that.
You know, whatever.
Yeah.
It's there. It's
Yeah.
water.
Well, as we all know, Christina's an avid Red Bull drinker. And I am not as much of a Red Bull drinker. However, we had some Red Bulls sent to us from the UK, and we had some friends staying with us last weekend, and they saw like the husband, his name is Cole. Shout out Cole if you're watching. They saw the Red Bulls in our fridge, and he was like, "Oh, can I have one of these?" And I was like, "Sure, you can have all of them if you want them, because we don't really drink them. We just like looking at them." And he was like, "Well, I like these because they're the ones from Europe. They don't have the sucralose or whatever in them that they do in America." And I was like, "Oh, I would not have even thought of that." But what is that how it is for you in Canada?
No, I think that we have most of our drinks are more similar to the European ones. It's just that America allows a lot more crap in their food and drinks than most other countries. Like some of the food dyes and preservatives and sugar alternatives y'all have, we haven't allowed in like 15, 20 years. So
I saw a comedian from Letterkenny complaining about how you guys don't have enough variations on Captain Crunch.
I don't eat Captain Crunch. I have no clue.
Well, I'm just saying breakfast cereals. So is that why you would not see the wide array of different kinds of flavors and combinations of breakfast cereals because you have restrictions like that?
Some of it is the restrictions, but a lot of it is also that shipping to Canada sucks. We are a massive country. We are really spread out. We have very few dense population centers. So it just doesn't make sense to ship as wide a variety of products to us. It happens in everything ranging from cereals to drinks to clothing. A lot of the times you have to order this stuff special online because then they can hold bulk, piles of the stuff instead of having it spread out across the country. It's just a Canadian problem because we're fat.
What? Not in people, in land.
However, Canada is fat.
I thought we held the record.
She is the second biggest landmass.
Yes. Also, not before we get into Abu Dhabi, Buck, I suspect that we're picking up your mic feed not from your mic. I'm getting a lot of room noise from you, and I know you have that beautiful new fancy dancy mic, but I'm like, I don't remember that being how his mic sounded last week.
Interesting.
Yeah, you sound very echoey and not centralized.
A lot of room noise. Yeah.
Son of a Pop-Tart.
While Buck is figuring out his microphone, his beautiful new microphone, Christina, what did you think of Abu Dhabi?
Fixed it.
There it is. I was like, something is off. Something is off with Buck's mic. I'm like, audio engineer.
It was the built-in mic on this thing up here, this crappy webcam. So, yeah.
I was like, I know a computer mic when I hear one. And I know a professional mic when I hear one. And I'm like, Buck got really ripped off if that is his professional mic.
I'm sorry. So before my audio interrupted things, what were you saying?
Oh, I was asking Christina what she thought of Abu Dhabi this year.
I was very content with it. As far as, being a final race without any real skin in the game, aside like P2, where they either get more money or more wind tunnel time, which both of them need. So whatever. And same
True.
with like P7, where it was like, oh my gosh, Williams versus Alpha Tauri, and you're kind of just like, I struggle to care about either of those battles, quite frankly. But overall, very content, very happy to see Yuki having a phenomenal day. Very happy to see who else was having like, Leclerc was having overall a decent day. And a decent day at Ferrari is just not a tear inducing day. So, good ones there. Overall, it was just the Yuki high is kind of just it's keeping me going. He led more laps this year than Fernando Alonso.
Wow, which is saying something.
Right? How cool is that? Very cool random
That is
stat there.
interesting.
Great way to send off team principal of like 20-ish years France tossed. Like, what a way to end it.
Yeah.
So good. But yes.
Well, speaking of stats, I heard Crofty and Martin giving our boy Sean a shout out on the broadcast because when Yuki was leading the race and they were like, who's the last Japanese driver to have whatever? And Martin said it and he was like, that was our stat man. I can't take credit for that one. And I was like, Sean, we know him.
I thought he said, I am taking credit for that one.
No.
Oh, okay.
I heard him say, I'm not taking credit for that one. That was our stat man. Thanks to our stat man. So
nice.
Like, yay, Sean.
Aww.
But anyways, yeah, I did not get a chance to watch it live yesterday because we had an event that we had to go to. And so I just watched it like today. I finished it about 20 minutes before hopping on here with you guys. And I agree with you, Christina. It was good, but also, I don't know. It was the last race of the season. Max won. Shocker. Could have told you before. I could have told you on Saturday Max is going to win it. And what's funny too is I had a bunch of people telling me on Sunday, like, it's really good. It's a great race. And I was like, oh my gosh, does Max not win? Because I was like, everybody's saying like, oh, it's a really good race. There's some really good battles. I'm like, oh my gosh, was it close? And then I even had one person, because I posted on my Instagram, I had one person and I said, don't give me spoilers. Like, I'm going to try to stay away from spoilers. And someone messaged me and goes, Yuki won. And I was like, shut up. No way.
In the ways that count, Yuki did win.
Yes.
Like, in the ways that count. But there were a lot of good wheel-to-wheel battles. I will say that. A lot of them put up a good fight and we're kind of just like, you know what? We're actually going to get our elbows out. We're actually going to do the thing. I will say, though, that this is one of those tracks where you get so many DRS overtaking, even though there are those good non-DRS spots that are way more interesting to watch. So in that sense, I'm kind of just like, I can't wait for a day where DRS isn't a necessity for overtakes to happen. That would be lovely if we could ever get there. But some of those wheel-to-wheel ones, I was just like, thank you.
Yeah.
Please, more of this. Continue this trend next year where the field is actually close together and you can actually get those fights.
Totally.
Brilliant.
The DRS zone after the chicane, where they've inserted a new kind of parabolic turn.
Yeah.
I kept noticing that they would, whoever was trying to defend knew that you should stay on the inside, because no matter, like, even if you're a car length behind, if you're on the inside going into that curve, you'll be fine. And yet there were a number of times where I think both George and Lewis just kind of forgot that or something and kept allowing someone up the inside, and that this is the first race where I really kind of focused on how the DRS played with these new elements of the track design. The hairpins now missing in that parabolic turn, and it's interesting. I thought there was going to be more spice there in that curve, and there really wasn't. It just seemed like if you're on the outside, you're lost.
Yeah, I feel like with long, wide turns like that, you have to have very good grip. And I feel like that's really something that you can only get into when you have 3 really good practice sessions that really allow you to fine tune in the setup of the car. And with the way practice went this weekend, None of them got to do their run plans. Like FP1 dominated by rookies. Half the grid wasn't doing anything. FP2 was completely derailed, which is the one representative session that they had.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my mind, it's not all that surprising that a lot of them didn't have great setups that allowed them to take full advantage of all the places on the track they would have liked to.
Yeah, which also doesn't surprise me because I feel like there were some decisions that were kind of made. I mean, championship decisions made this weekend, but I don't know. If you ask me, I feel like Ferrari really kind of dropped the ball, but shocker. And happy for Mercedes. And my heart really breaks for Carlos. I think in all of it, my heart just breaks the most for Carlos because
always
he fought so hard and Charles had a normal day, but they can't pull out a normal day for both of them.
Ferrari,
so one must always fall.
The Ferrari balls are like hidden under the couch behind a bunch of dust bunnies, and they're trying their best to like reach down to get them, but gosh darn it, just go grab a stick and get out those balls because this is getting a bit ridiculous.
Oh my gosh.
That's really hard to do, especially when you get to be of a certain age. It's tough.
I was picturing like ornaments, but yeah, I think we were all of our minds were in a different place.
It's just like Ferrari.
Yes. Bless it all. Okay, question. There might be a controversial question, or it might not. Honestly, I don't know. Did you feel that the Checo Lando incident was fairly, I don't know, observed?
Based on precedent, no, that penalty shouldn't have been given. Based on principle, that it is stupid to brake that late when you're essentially going straight into the turn and not going to miss a curb. Like you're not going to be able to turn your car in time if you're braking that late, going that straight, and there's a car around the outside. Mm-hmm. Like based off of sheer dumbassery, if you could give a penalty for that, that's what this shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been causing a collision. It should have been like, that was stupid. Please don't.
Yeah.
So essentially what this was same corner when Max pushed Lewis Hamilton off.
Yeah.
And Hamilton cut the corner and there's a whole complaint about you got to give the corner back, blah, blah, blah. Lando didn't do what Lewis did do, which was avoid a collision.
Yeah.
So Checo got the penalty that people have been asking Max to get at turn 4 Brazil, at this turn, I don't know what number it is.
This was 6, I think.
Numerous times where Max will intentionally just, I mean, what was it just
it's
last
a game
week?
Of chicken.
Vegas, turn 1 Vegas. Yeah, he plays chicken and with Lewis and others, they avoid. And in this case, you screwed around and found out what happens when you don't avoid. And Checo gets the penalty, which I don't know. I'm ambivalent about it because there was so much room to Lando's right. He could have avoided. But then on principle, should he have had to? Because Checo kind of dove in there like crazy. So, I don't know. We have some commenters pointing out that Carlos didn't finish.
Nope. He retired, technically. On like the last lap, they had to radio him and be like, please bring the car back if you can.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tragic.
Thank you, multi-viewer, for pointing that out. Oh, the transcription on that app is hilarious at time because it gets it wrong in comedic ways, but it's also just so helpful. It also doesn't, because it's just like listening to the audio and then transcribing it. It doesn't differentiate between the driver and the engineer. So it's just this long run on of like communication. So it kind of just, when you read it, sometimes it seems like the person is just straight up crazy talking to themselves. Like, okay, bud, are you sure you're okay? Are you sure you're getting enough air in the helmet? But no, it's just, you have to spend some time getting used to deciphering it. But it's quite comical.
What did we think of Charles and his tactics in the last few laps? His strategy.
I think I'm still trying to make sense of it because, again, I finished it about an hour ago. So I'm still trying to like mentally work through it while also mourning his radio message at the end when he wanted to do burnouts and they were like, no. And he was like, I can't even have this. And I was like, oh, Charles. You poor thing. So
Oh.
I really shouldn't speak to it, but I feel
So
like he was trying to do something.
yes. So my understanding of it was that Charles was in second at the time. Perez was down in third. George was in fourth. If Charles lets Perez get ahead, the two of them can pull far enough that Charles would still get second with the 5-second penalty, and Checo would get third, keeping George down in fourth. But if they let George get too close, then Perez's 5 seconds would demote him past both Charles and George, meaning that George got more championship points that they didn't want him to get. So it was essentially a game to try and pull them ahead and make sure George only got fourth place worth of points, but it didn't go properly. Checo and Charles and George pulled ahead and ended up close enough together.
And that's what I was going to say, because I was like, that was my understanding as well. But I felt like when it was happening, George was so close to Charles anyway, by the time that Charles had given the position to Checo, that I was like, I don't really know that this was completely thought out. However, I think that Charles thought it out because he didn't know what the gaps were. He was asking what the gaps were. And then I think that whoever was responsible for figuring out if that was going to work didn't do all the math.
Yeah. Which you think it wouldn't be too hard math because it's like,
yeah,
can you count to 5?
But shout out to Checo Perez for, a heck of a drive. I mean, he was driving his little tush off.
Oh,
that's a keep your seat drive.
That's right.
That's I'm in a really fast car and I'd had a bad qualifying drive, which is his normal drives, quite frankly. Like it's again like him getting driver of the day every single time he qualifies poorly and then makes his way through the grid in the absolute rocket ship of the car. Like I have a hard time applauding that, where it's like so many of his overtakes came in the DRS zone where it wasn't racecraft. It was literally just him having that car with the like insane straight line speed. So good highway for him to end the season. I do still think his goose is cooked. I do still think he's not going to make it to the end of next season in that Red Bull seat.
Ooh,
but it was definitely
a
solid take. I don't think it's a hot take. Daniel Ricciardo is one of Christian Horner's favorite drivers. It has absolutely nothing to do with Checo's performance. If they think Daniel Ricciardo can get similar or better performances to Checo, they're going to toss him in the Red Bull seat. It has very little to do with performance.
You think this would be next year?
Yes.
After Horner has been adamant about Checo having that seat.
This is the exact same song and dance they did before replacing, what's his name? Daniel Kvyat, before replacing Gasly and before replacing Albon. They have done this song and dance so many times, they cannot be surprised that people are skeptical when they say, oh no, our driver is totally safe.
It's like when Mercedes kept saying their car was crap.
Before. Yeah, like, I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it at the end of 2024 when he's been in that seat for the full year, quite frankly, because...
Moz Jag in the chat says Checo apparently did a deep dive on data and videos and stuff with his engineer a few races ago, and what we're seeing on track now is a result of that deep dive and analysis of his own performance.
Why, it wouldn't surprise me if he did. I think that there were definitely some points he was leaving on the table with some of the driving maneuvers that he was doing, and I think that we saw a great drive from him yesterday. I don't think he made as many of those mistakes. Case in point, he got pretty aggressive in there with Lando. Should he have done that? No, but it was aggressive. So, and I think that's what Red Bull likes to see. So, I don't know. I still think it's a hot take, Christina, but I'm with you that I'll like believe it when I see it, but I think it's a hot take.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree with you. I think the Red Bull has changed their tune enough times to where we should be skeptical.
Always. Also, the fact that they're keeping Liam Lawson so closely associated with AlphaTauri, it's like, I'm sorry, you're making sure he is still fully ingrained in that team and fully prepped to jump in that seat at any time. You have a swap coming up. I'm sorry. Those are the signs of being ready for it. Like that's
so you wouldn't move Checo to AlphaTauri?
What?
You wouldn't move Checo down to
No.
AlphaTauri?
No, that wouldn't make sense because they want to use Lawson. Lawson has far more potential. Checo is a good, solid second driver, but why would they move him down to AlphaTauri when they could make use of that like car for one of their junior drivers?
I'd love to see more Liam Lawson. I saw a photo of him recently, and I was just like, oh, I forgot he was with us for a little while.
He raced.
Yeah. Solid.
Do we have an official new name for AlphaTauri?
Racing Bulls.
You're
officially?
kidding.
Like, is that like is that? I thought that was like a rumor.
No, they trademarked it, which means it's as good as confirmed that Red Bull are using that name for something. And it's most likely for that second team, which is absolutely stupid. You're going to pay for a rebrand and have it be like the most benign, forgettable, redonkulous name ever. Like, so unimaginative. How on earth is that going to help you expand your brand? It's not.
You know, it's funny. When I was telling my husband about the rumor that they were going to name it Racing Bulls, he said, it's like they got into the meeting room and said, all right, let's all try to come up with a name and pitch our names. And then if we can't come up with anything, the backup name will be Racing Bulls. And then nobody could agree on a name. So like, all right, we'll just stuck with the backup name.
Like, the thing is, the name wasn't even a problem. Like, calling it AlphaTauri isn't a problem. The problem is that they're just not making the most of their clothing line. They're only this year now recently distributing in America. It's been 3 years.
Yeah.
And the thing is, lifestyle brands are like crack cocaine to the Americans. They want their good, cute lounge wear, which AlphaTauri has. It's ridiculously priced, but it's also high tech. They have the jackets that you can control the temperature from the app. They have cabled knit sweaters that are made with a single all connected thread, so there's less waste. Like, throw in a couple candles and some blankets, and you have a flawless lifestyle brand, and you have Daniel Ricciardo promoting it. Like, I'm sorry, that's a perfect recipe for success if executed properly. But they haven't. So they have to change their name now.
I always thought that clothing brand was just sort of like lots of khaki and taupe and.
Not really.
No?
Like, it's very much the vibe is a lot more like Lululemon.
Oh.
But make it a bit more techy and a bit more high fashion. More fashion forward almost, yeah. Like, it's I would not describe it as khaki
just
pants.
RB. It's so close to Red Bull.
Like,
yeah.
I would have gone with Blue Bulls. Because just to hear,
that's horrible.
Just to hear Crofty and Brundle try not to
say it in a British accent.
Oh, it's already happening on Twitter. Like, that's the joke that's being made.
Blue Bulls?
Yeah, but switching bulls for balls.
Right.
Like, it's people have already made that jump of just like, this is a bad idea. Let's prove it. I feel like that's also the mark of how good your name is or not. How quickly can the internet make a farce out of it? And the answer to this one was within 12 hours.
Yeah.
Like, it was so fast.
Christina, I saw you commented on something on, I want to say it was Twitter, where you don't think any of the rookies we saw at Abu Dhabi have a shot at a seat next year or
I definitely didn't write a tweet to that effect.
No?
Nah, that must have been someone else.
Christina, you might have an imposter.
Dun dun dun. Oh, that's fun.
Okay.
No, I generally speaking, yes, there's an absolute bottleneck that is happening from F2 into F1. And I think a huge part of it is the lack of testing time. Like, rookie drivers have to learn on track, and they're not given any extra leeway to get used to these cars that are so dramatically different.
Mm-hmm.
And especially after watching IndyCar in full this year and being reminded of how many things they do to help their rookie drivers get extra test sessions that are just for those first-year drivers. Regardless of how much racing experience they have, you are new to IndyCar, you are a rookie, and you are getting those extra test sessions, whether that be in the jumbo ovals, whether that be on the street and road courses. You're getting more time. You're getting an extra set of tires per weekend. Like, they're making sure that those rookies are able to get up to speed, and it's a safety thing as well. It's not just, can these people be competitive? It's if they're not well prepared, they're actually a hazard, which is something I think we could use, the Nicholas Latifi argument. How many collisions was he in where, yes, it was just him, but how many times did he also bring other cars into the melee with him? Because he just didn't get enough testing time or practice time that could have helped prevent that. Honestly, F1 really should be having that, because then you would have teams, I think, more likely to take a chance on rookie drivers because they'd be seeing results more soon, instead of just being like, no, we don't want to spend the 3 years potentially not having a competitive car because we have to get this rookie driver up to performance level.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Nicholas Latifi was a hazard not in his rookie year as well. It's like, I don't know if the testing would have helped him as much, especially towards the end. However, for like Nick DeVries this year, I think it would have made all the difference and would have given him a lot more confidence in the car, and maybe he would have still been driving in Abu Dhabi. But okay, I have kind of a hot take question. Do we think that Abu Dhabi should be the season closer?
No.
And then follow up was going to be, what do you wish was the season closer if not Abu Dhabi?
Brazil.
Vegas.
Bring back Brazil as the closer. Straight up.
Ooh.
Like, that's fairly controversial. Most people think that that's what it should be. Like, Abu Dhabi is the season closer because they pay a butt ton of money to be the season closer, not because they're necessarily the place where you're going to get the biggest hoopla or the biggest fan attendance. Most people I know who have been at Abu Dhabi aren't locals. They're people who have flown in to go see it because it's the season finale. So it's become a destination race, big tourist thing, which is a good thing to have. But there's also something to be said for that kind of crowd that you get of people who they can go to the race because it's close to them, they can afford it, and it's a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity. It's just a different fan base, it's a different group of people, and the energy that you get from a certain type of fan that is all gung-ho, you don't get that at Abu Dhabi. It's a very excited crowd, but it's a different kind of excited, and I would much rather have it be at a track where you have those hardcore ride or die, I live and breathe, and this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for me to go type of fans.
Okay, Buck, why Vegas?
Oh, it was just a whole lot of fun. If the last race of the year, and 2021 aside, generally isn't a deciding race.
Just make it a party race.
2008, 21, those are big decider final races. But if it's not a I think part to your point about how it's locals aren't going, it's a destination thing where celebrities and whatnot are flying in. It's more of a parade race. The season was locked up, 14 months ago, whenever it was. Like, do you want a track like Brazil to be relegated to going last if the odds are that the season's going to be locked up long before that? And how many people are still going to be invested in it? Is the viewership going to drop? And are they going to feel like, it's not as exciting a race at Brazil?
Mm-hmm.
That'd be my concern.
I like the idea of Vegas as a closer with one condition, that it's not at midnight or at 10 p.m. That it's at maybe an earlier hour. Because the other reality is like, how fun would it be to finish out in Vegas and then they're all done? And you know how like they all go do the big like crazy party and everything after the season closer? They would have so much more fun doing that in Las Vegas than they would in Abu Dhabi. No shade to Abu Dhabi, but like, come on.
How do you sort out the time difference, though? Europe would have to, like, even if you started as late as 9 p.m., you'd be at 5 a.m. in London.
They can deal with the crappy time.
Yeah, I was going to say, I love all of my fellow European, I mean, not fellow, but my fellow fans, but that happen to be European. You guys get a lot of really wonderfully convenient timed races throughout the year. And I love that for you. And that's awesome for you. And I wish I could have that. But I think that if it's going to be in Las Vegas, that it should be at a convenient time for all the people that are racing there in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So That's how I feel about that. And you know what? If you want to watch it live, then watch it at 3 a.m. and enjoy.
Yeah, like I watched Abu Dhabi at 5 a.m. Like,
yeah,
they can deal with it. It's fine. It's doable. Suck
and
it
I
up.
think, and at some point, for everybody in the world that's a fan, at some point during the season, you have races that happen at inconvenient times. It's part of it being an international sport. But I actually think that it was a hazard to the teams and to the drivers that were competing in Las Vegas to have them at such difficult hours, especially on the heels of coming off of Brazil or whatever. And they, with the delays and with the various things, they weren't getting home until dawn. And so I feel like maybe if we had them during a reasonable hour, the sessions during a reasonable hour, the race during a reasonable hour, then you'll probably actually have better viewership, a better showing. Everyone's going to have a ton of fun. And the Europeans can watch it whenever they want to watch it. If they want to watch it live, watch it live. If they want to watch it the next day, watch it the next day. Because I watched Abu Dhabi the next day. I don't feel like I missed out on any of the fun. Because guess what? Max won. Shocker. Shocker. You know?
Mark McSpadden in the chat says Coda would be a good one too.
I love Coda. Give Coda everything. How fun, you guys. So Coda does this thing every year called the Peppermint Parkway. That's like their Christmas activation at Coda. It's so cool. And they did a thing last year where they had Christmas trees that people could go home with the Christmas tree. Like you could go to Peppermint Parkway at Coda and then buy your Christmas tree there and then take it home. And you drive the track and they have it set up with lights and all the various things. And I'm not saying to make the season that late ending, but if you had a season closer at Coda, I mean, maybe they could leave with a Christmas tree. I don't know. How fun, you know? How fun. I love the Coda idea.
Imagine all the Europeans that flew in for the final race.
Showing up to the airport with a Christmas tree.
They're on their private jets, just trying to drag it up and shove it in the cargo bay.
Amazing. Amazing.
Let's see here. They have the same this year. I guess Mark must live there. He's pointing out that they're doing it.
If any of you guys are local to Austin, Texas, or not, honestly, I'm like, I want to go. I'm not local, but can I go? The Peppermint Parkway is so cool, and they do such a great job of it. I mean, if they do such a good job with F1, imagine how well they do with Christmas. Come on, people. Go to Peppermint Parkway. This is not a paid or sponsored promo. I just love Coda.
Any final thoughts on Abu Dhabi?
Thank God it's over. I'm tired.
I do think it's cool that it starts in the daytime and ends at night. I do think.
Is that new?
No. And listen to this week's episode because I'll talk about it in the history of Abu Dhabi. The very short history of Abu Dhabi. But yeah, it's I think that's pretty cool. And I'm like, man, Vegas, take notes. You could also do that.
They're big deal. They need to move it earlier. They need to have it in like October because the temperature, I think, is...
Oh, in Vegas?
Yeah.
It's too cold.
Either that or Pirelli's going to come out with a special Vegas tire.
It would also help to start earlier in the day, when the sun is out.
They should just be doing a handful of extra formation laps. Just warm up the tires a little bit, warm up the track, because once we got that little stint out of the way, everything was fine and it was a good race. Just give yourself the leeway to do a couple more formation laps. You will do it if the track is too wet. I think you should be able to do it if the track is too cold.
Boom.
Fair point.
She said it.
All right. And on that note, we bid you all farewell for the final Gravel Trap F1 Live of the year. And check out our episode that we're going to go record right now.
Yes. There might be a special secret surprise announcement. Dun, dun, dun.
And